Hey everyone, welcome to another $1,000 strap search. I've got my $1,000 in singles here and I'm about to show you what I found. But before I do, let's talk about this week's tip. Now, this week I started doing something a little bit extra in my searches, and it has to do with Where's George. Now, I have a Where's George stamp. I tend to stamp notes Where's George and put them in circulation. And in fact, these are already searched, so I'm sure if I just flip through real quick, we'll probably find one in here. And now that I say that, it's not there. It is. There's my Where's George stamp on there. Now, normally what I would do is whenever I would find a few brand new notes that were consecutive, I would pull those notes out and I would save those to stamp Where's George. And I did that for two reasons, both of which are probably wrong, but the first reason I did it is if they were crisp, uncirculated notes, they were at the beginning of their lifespan. So I figured a crisp, uncirculated note marked with Where's George will stay in circulation for a while, and that would give me the best opportunity for someone to find it, log it in, and pass it on. The second reason I always did crisp, uncirculated is because they would be consecutive numbers. So I always thought that as I'm logging these into Where's George, it would be so much easier because the numbers are consecutive. Well, it turns out neither one of those are true. It turns out that as soon as you stamp a note Where's George, odds are that if it goes back to the Fed is going to identify that note as damaged because it has a stamp or writing on it. For those of you who have ever gotten Federal Reserve bricks, you don't get notes that have writing or stamps or stuff like that because those are all pulled out. So by stamping a note, a crisp note, that doesn't ensure that it's going to circulate longer. And as far as typing in the numbers, well, it turns out that it doesn't really take that long to type in whatever number it is. So rather than pulling crisp, uncirculated consecutives for my Where's George, I decided that I'm going to start pulling all of those notes that you see everybody trying to sell that aren't worth anything. I will be pulling out notes that have wet ink transfers over here. I will be pulling out notes that might have a slight gas pump error. I will be pulling out any note that has 4 consecutive, that starts off 7890 or something like that, because people are trying to say that those notes are worth extra money, and frankly, they're not. So I will pull those notes, notes that are one off of a radar, things like that. I will, birthday notes that the birthday isn't correct, meaning that it would start off, this would be 1918 and it would be 43 and then 00. So they would say that that would be a birthday note, 1918, April 3rd, which clearly isn't. So it's going to be those notes that I pull that I apply the Where's George stamp to, because that way, if people are trying to convince other people that those are worth money, well, at the very least, I've now put a stamp on it, making it less likely that they'd want to save it. And with a stamp on it, that means that those are the notes that the Federal Reserve are most likely to pull out of circulation. Some people will argue that that would be me actually making the notes more rare. Well, if I've got to stamp something, I might as well put my stamp on something that clearly isn't worth anything to start with. What better way to demonstrate that than to stamp those notes? All right, so there's my 1,000 in singles. Let's take a look at what I found this week. Starting off, this one has to be shown by itself. You'll see that this note, if you look at it, you can see right through it because this is a stripper note. Yep, this one is soaked in baby oil. I find these on occasion. It gives a transparent look to the note. I mean, when you hold it to the light, it's clearly transparent, but compared to other notes, not the case. You don't even have to hold this to the light to be able to see through it. So yeah, stripper note found. Here's a Where's George note that I found. www.where'sgeorge.com. So I will be logging that one. Stamp that says I grew hemp. Somebody's been stamping these around here because this is the second or third one of these that I've found already like that. And this is interesting. Haha, loser. Somebody put a devil's face on George Washington. I wonder if I can use a devil's face for anything interesting. Found an alternator. This one has 6 as the alternator. 6, 8, 6, 5, 6, 4, 6, 5. And this is some trinaries. Now, trinaries and quads, when I pull them, I'm not pulling them because they're worth anything. Even in a note like this, 6,000, 4,000. Does that look neat? Sure. Is it worth anything? No. But it looks neat. I save trinaries and quads because I'm trying to find notes with identical serial numbers. Pairing serial numbers, that's a tough feat to do. That's how you can make virtually any note worth something, if you can pair it. The thing is, there's 100,000 or 100 million combinations, so it's not the easiest thing in the world to do. Anyway, trinaries, 0s, 4s, and 6s, cool number too, 6,000, 4,000. 0s, 2s, and 8s, and let's see. Yeah, some people would call that 4 pairs. I wouldn't, because it's 2 0s, 2 8s, 2 8s, 2 2s. It's a trinary. It's worth just as much as any other trinary. Another trinary, 0s, 1s, and 3s. 2s, 5s, and 6s. 1s, 4s, and 5s. That stupid one in the front. Otherwise, that would have been a binary. Quads. This is quad 1s. Quad 3s. There are people that are going to tell you that this is what's the expression used by somebody who uses a cross while they lie to people? What's that guy's name? Anyway, he calls a note like this where you've got 3, 4, and then after 9 you have 10, but you can't put 10, so you'd put 0. He would call this an ascending ladder because you've got 3s, then 4s, then 0s. But because there are so many 3s and so many 0s, he calls them chunky ladders, as we all do, because nothing is better for a business person than to create their own term to make something that has no value seem to have value. So yes, he calls this a chunky ladder, and I just call him a chunky monkey because that's just that's just so stupid. No, this is a trinary, has no additional value. And I got nothing else to say with that. Quad 3s, I'm saving it, hoping to pair quad 3s. Quad 3s again, one away from a radar. If this didn't have the quads in the middle like that, I would be using this as a Where's George note because people are going to say, oh, it's almost a radar. Yes. And if it's almost a radar, it's almost worth money. Found some stars. Don't forget to check your stars to make sure that the stars are not filled in. If they are filled in, that's an error. Let's see, 2017A, another 2017A, and another 2017, and another one of those, another 2017. That one's pretty crisp. This one's a little rough. 2013. Now, for those of you who get excited, it is a 2013. It is a B, but it is not in the range for the duplicate stars. Duplicate stars from the 2013 B series are going to start off at 250,000 and less, and then you have to go all the way to 032 to 096. Any of those would be in the duplicate range. This is not, so this is just a regular star. Another 2013. This one is also a 2013, pretty rough, probably going away. 2013 there as well. Older note, 2006 star note. And then we get to the older notes in general, 2003A, 2003A. Another one with writing, so it's going to go away. Another one, 2001. Now, these are actually kind of rare because you're talking 2001. They came out with another series by 2003, so you don't see a lot of 2001s. So when you find one that's a little nicer, you can consider holding on to that. 19, what do we got, 99. 1995, checking to see if it's a web. It is not. Another 95. Another 95. Pretty rough shape on that one. 1988A, also a shot for a web note, but it's not. Another 88A. 88A. 1988. And the coolest note that I found, as you guys probably were trying to figure out when you saw the sleeve, I found a true binary. Well, not a true binary, but I found a binary 27227777. It's a binary, so it's only twos and sevens. It is quads with the four sevens there with the fifth. That's irrelevant. The fact is, it's a binary. That's the cool part. That's why this is a keeper. What's it worth? I don't know, maybe $10 or so. Definitely hard to find. You guys see how often I pull these. Do I pull them every week? No. Do I pull one a month? Maybe. Maybe. Anyway, that's what I found this week. What did I pull out? Well, you heard me giggle, of course, with the George Washington having the devil's head. So what I did is I got myself a $100 note from Canada. You can see this is 1954 Ottawa right there. It's a $100 bill from Canada. This was the first issue that featured Queen Elizabeth as the queen. Now, she was on other notes when she was a child, but as a queen, this was the first note that she appeared on. This particular one's really nice. This is known as the modified version. This particular one, it is off-cut a little bit. I don't know the specs on how often Canada notes were off-cut, but I'm assuming that this is not an error because first and foremost, you can see it completely around it. It's not like the cut goes into the border. Looking at the back, if I check the back, this side is narrower than this side. This side's really wide. And as you hold it up to the light, you can see the front outline as it surrounds the back outline. And that is even all the way around. So it's not a misprinted note, it's simply miscut. And once again, I'm not saying it's an error. I doubt it's an error. And even if it is an error, because it doesn't interfere with the print, it's not worth anything. But this $100 note was known as the modified version. And as we check into it here a little bit, I want to see if I can spot one of these. It has these little dots. These are security features on the note. It's to make sure that you couldn't counterfeit them. They put these little dots on here. And it's really cool, because if you don't know, it looks like someone got a little bit of spittle while they were chewing gum on the note, but that's not the case. It is a security feature on the note. Cool back on this one as well. Anyway, I keep stressing this is the modified version because they had to modify this from the original version that they did. The original version is known as the Devil's Head version. The Devil's Head note, this one, once again, 1954, $100 from Canada. And if you look real close, as I try to grab my pen, let me try it. Let me see if I can point this out to you guys. Right here, you can see the nose. This little white portion here, that's the nose. You can see the mouth underneath, the eyes, and you can see the horns for the devil's head. Now, there have been all kinds of stories about these. Some people say it was done intentionally, but the fact of the matter is that if you ever get a chance to see the actual picture that this was engraved from, these were the true highlights. So yeah, there's a lot of great stories that go behind the devil's head, but the truth of the matter is that the engraver simply carved what he saw. He wasn't intending to draw that. That's simply what was there. Now, if I was to put these side by side, now you can see them a little bit better. Because we're just looking at the hair, we don't need to see the face. You can see where you have the nose and where you don't have it here because it was colored in. This highlight is still there a little bit, and the portion that would make the horns is still there, but the nose and the cheek have been blacked out so that you cannot see the devil's head there anymore. I had to get the pair. You guys recently saw me with the 50, and I thought to myself, well, how much more is the 100? The only one I'm missing now is the 1,000, and that's a little expensive. So I probably won't be picking up the 1,000. But I was able to score a $100 note, both the modified and the devil's head, so I had to pick them up. So that's what I've got for you guys this week. If you learned anything new, go ahead and hit that like button. If you like what you see and you want to see more, please subscribe. Love reading all your comments. Guys, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.